Welcome back, everybody, to another live Q&A episode with me, Joe Everest, defense expert. So good to see you guys back. So this is like the second week in a row, I think. We're getting back in the habit of having live Q&As, and I like it a lot. I love seeing you guys, or seeing your guys' comments. I wish I could see you guys. That would be phenomenal. Maybe that's a conversation we get into in a little bit about been doing a lot of research lately on metaverse, right? So there's a lot of talk about it currently. Say what you will about Facebook and Meta and all that, calling themselves Meta or Meta. I don't know, Meta probably, metadata, right? So maybe in the future, so this is kind of like 2D, right? So it's flat. I can't see you. You can see me, but anyway, on a screen. So the current conversation is sometime in the future in this metaverse, maybe we all sit in a room and chat and talk about fence. How crazy would that be? I think that'd be insane, but I'm here for it. Anything we can do to increase interaction, I think, is best for everybody. Anyway, good morning. How are you guys? For those of you watching in the UK, good afternoon. Right? Yep, six ahead, seven ahead, six ahead. The time change is a little bit different sometimes. It doesn't line up. So anyway, irregardless, good afternoon to those of you in the UK. Let's get through here and say hello to a few people. Roger was here not a bit early. He was here at 7:38 this morning. So a couple hours ago, 2.5 hours ago. Wow. Roger, if you're back with us, hello, welcome. If not, we'll talk to you here in a little bit. Wallace, good morning, Joe. Ready for some of your golden nuggets of wisdom? You bet, Wallace. I appreciate you joining us. Let me know what you'd like to talk about. Drop it in the comments below. We'll start a conversation. I've got some things on my mind, but I'd rather talk about whatever you guys want to talk about than fill in time with the things rattling around in my head. Ideal Fence. Hello, Fence fam. James with Ideal Fence. Welcome, James. From NCI, North Central Indiana. Are we going to call it that? Let's call it that from now on. NCI, North Central Indiana. Looking forward to today and what it brings. Me too. Sometimes I'm just as excited to see where these conversations goes as everybody else. And I'm just as surprised as where they end up as everybody else too. Brent, welcome. Well, Wolf 13, Brent Mitch. Good morning to yourself. Good morning to you. That's what we meant. We're getting going. The brain is still like getting sorted, I guess. Michael Babbitt says, good morning, Joe. Hope you had a good week. I did. It was I don't want to say stressful. Overall, great week. We got fence built. We got some fence cleaned. Actually, as of right now, we're getting some fence stained this morning. So, been a good week. Been a productive week. Unfortunately, at the end of this week, our team looks a little bit different. So we're down a few team members, but for the better sort of thing. I don't know. So anyway, so it was a bit stressful as we kind of figured out what we're wanting our team to look like moving forward and trying to create that vision, right? So where do we want the company to go and what should the team look like to A, get the company there, and B, once we get there, what's the team going to look like moving forward? So we had to have a couple hard conversations this week and kind of reorganize what we look like. So a bit of a mixed bag for this week, for sure. Brent, I don't think so. And the metaverse, I believe we were talking about this comment probably came in. We're talking about metaverses all sitting in the same room. I have a hard time picturing exactly how this is going to go down. And I don't think anybody really knows how this is going to go down. But no. So all right. So Brent will get this. So we used to play video games. Brent still plays video. I need to get back into it. We used to play games together. That's actually how Brent and I met each other. So you can buy skins, right? So different uniforms, different, just stuff you're wearing, right? Different helmets, different weapons, whatever, different colored weapons, whatever. It sounds like metaverse is going to be a lot like that, where you would input your avatar, and there's currently the conversation is, do you scan yourself, right? Do you upload a high resolution photograph of yourself? More likely, what it's going to be is you upload a high resolution video of you saying some common phrases, smiling, laughing, frowning to get your facial features. This is going to get really weird, and then you would purchase, I guess, clothes, whatever you want yourself to be portrayed in. So, which means we're gonna have to figure out how to get some customized skins going on in there. But do you at home have to be wearing clothes? I don't believe so. I mean, I would, but we both know you, and you do you, boo. My little man Jackson says hi. Hello, Jackson. So good to see you. I hope you're being a good listener and a good helper. We've got some friends coming over this evening for Friendsgiving, so the house is a little bit in motion today. So when I left this morning, there's just a beehive of activity going on. So Jackson, be a good listener, be a good helper. Speaking of the UK, Project Metal Music. What is up? Hey Joe. Hey everyone. Hello. Mike C says, hey, Joe, is an airless sprayer worth it for a homeowner or stick with a pump-up sprayer, maybe a backpack pump sprayer? All right, so airless will give you better results. You can more finely tune the spray pattern, the coverage rate, all of that. However, if you're only doing it for yourself depending on the stain you use, Stain and Seal Experts sponsors this live. Thank you, Stain and Seal Experts. If you're using a good stain and Steel Experts is the one I use. You'll only need to restain it every 2 to 3 years, depending on exposures. How much sun does it get on a typical day? Where in the United States or where in the world are you as far as how intense that UV exposure is? 2 to 3 years is a pretty good average. So, is it worth investing in a piece of equipment that you use one day every few years? Probably not. Depends on where you are. Here in our area, rental houses will rent airless sprayers. So you could always rent one. That way you didn't have to invest in that. The rent would probably, I'm guessing, be roughly what you would pay for an airless sprayer. Get better equipment. Don't have the cost sunk in having that piece of equipment that just sits in the corner of the shed or the garage or wherever, in between springs. So airless sprayer is the best quality choice as far as spray pattern, coverage rate and all that. Can you stain your fence with a pump up sprayer? Yeah, sure can. But it's all in how you want it to go on and the result you're looking for. If you're looking for a very even result, now the nice thing about Stain and Seal Experts is that you can flood coat, right? And so it self levels itself. So even if you're using a pump up sprayer and you get one section a little bit heavier than the next, they typically even out, pretty consistently. So other stains that we've tried, and I'm not going to name names, but other stains that we've tried, it's really important to get it even the very first time. If you don't get it even, it's really not going to look right. So then a pump up sprayer would probably not be a great option. So anyway, I hope that helps. I would go rent the airless sprayer or see if there's a supply house in your area that rents the airless sprayers. Ideal Fence is excited about the talk on Job Nimbus at some point. Hopefully you can convince Sarah in on that talk. Working on it. We're working on it. So one of the team members that we had to cut loose was on Sarah's team. So her workload's getting a little bit heavier for the time being as we reconfigure and see what that team should look like moving forward. So maybe not in the next little bit. However, I do want to put together Job Nimbus. It's actually up on our board now after last week's live to do a run through on how we use Job Nimbus. So use some of the same templates, but set the costing right. So our cost, the markup, customers' cost, set those to fictitious numbers so that we all steer clear of antitrust laws and litigation. It's always a good idea. It's always easier to build fence on the outside than on the inside. So, yeah, Job Nimbus. There's not a lot of great tutorials out there, which is yet another reason for us to create some sort of tutorial on how we use it. And I would also love to see how other people use it as well. So what I'm hoping is, there's some other fence guys with YouTube channels, looking at you, Dan, that also use Job Nimbus. So I'd love to see how they use it as well. I mean, the way we use it works for us, but also we don't know what we don't know, right? So, yeah, I'm excited to see kind of how that goes. Now, there's also actually next month, actually in like a month from now, there's a big Job Nimbus conference going on. Fortunately, it's down in Mexico. It's down in Cabo. So now I've been to Cabo once. Beautiful place. I love it. Don't want to get stuck in Mexico. And I think that still could possibly be a thing. You get down there, you get the sniffles, you get you have to have a test to come back. Test is positive. You're stuck in Mexico till that test gets negative again. I don't know. I don't want to chance it. I want to come home. So I'm not going to that conference. So let's have a conversation for the fence guys in here about a similar worry. And that is the AFA Fence Tech going on in New Orleans. We're like 3 months away from that, right? Late February, November, December, January, February. 3 months. Rachel from My Salesman she made a post the other day, 12 weeks. I was like, oh my goodness, we need to get this figured out then. There is some concern in the Facebook groups talking about requirements to go into establishments there. I haven't fact checked this, so this is hearsay at this point. But from what these people are saying, it's a bit strict as far as having to have a vaccination card to get into restaurants or public spaces. I don't know that is the case for the venue. We should actually probably reach out to Tony, see if we can get some clarification from Tony on what the restrictions or requirements will be to attend Fence Tech. Yeah, so let's hear from you guys. Who's planning on attending Fence Tech? I would love to go. I think we'll probably end up going. I don't know. We'll see. I want to poll the group that's going and see kind of where everyone's head's at. I'd love to go, if nothing else, to make content for you guys. I'd love to interview new vendors and talk about what products they're bringing to market. I'd also like to talk to some existing vendors and see what they have available to market or what innovations they're making to their current lineup. I think this is I think there's a lot of possibility for content there that I think you guys would like to see. So I'd love to go. If nothing else, maybe it's me and a camera. I just go down there and take some video. We'll see. I know some of the team that are going have some of my team that were planning on going have young families. One is expecting shortly. That could be a word. You get it. Expecting a little one any time now. So, anytime now. So that's kind of a thought, right? So I had an event scheduled. So each January, I go to this event called the Chili Bowl. It's in Tulsa. It's indoor dirt track racing. It is amazing. It's an incredible event. Dirt track racers from all over the world show up because it's off season and it's a great time to compete for bragging rights. They're sprint cars indoor. They're winged and non-winged. It is incredible. And if you guys follow NASCAR at all, most of the NASCAR guys either participate in it or have teams that participate in it, kind of like their farm league would be the baseball term for it, but kind of like their training where they'll bring drivers up through their system. So, just all the big names. Tony Stewart's usually there, whether you love him or hate him. He's kind of a polarizing guy. He's typically there running the tractor to keep the dirt track in good shape. So people love to interact with Tony Stewart, I guess would be one way to put it. But yeah, so Danica Patrick had a team there. She was there a few years ago. Gordon's teams were there, Earnhardt's teams were there, Earnhardt Jr.'s teams were there. So the names of racing all show up and bring their younger drivers and let them compete. And sometimes the big drivers come out and compete as well. So Anyway, but that's what I go there in January. It's an incredibly good time. I did not go last year. So we had just had a little one. So Josie had just shown up. She showed up in late December. And this happens in early January. So, there's concern about how many people are going to be in a confined space and what that might look like, you know, with health concerns or whatnot. I didn't want to bring something back to a newborn. So I made the tough call and I stayed home. And I got reminded about that tough call throughout the week from the guys that were there. They were nice enough to give me a call and fill me in on exactly what I was missing. Thanks, guys. This year we're going. I'm going. We're going. They go every year. This year I'm going. So that's personal choice, right? So getting back to the team and restrictions and requirements for going to AFA. I'm planning on going, so we'll see what that looks like. What requirements I'll have to abide by to go. I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. We ought to get Tony on and chat about what kind of requirements we're going to see coming up. Let me know in the chat, guys. Are you guys going to Fence Tech? Are you not going to Fence Tech? Are you considering going to Fence Tech, but you have some questions? Let's chat about that. I'd love to see you guys. So we are talking about doing a meetup at the at the Stain and Steel Experts booth, but also at the My Salesman booth. So kind of doing meet and greets at both of those, bring you guys together and just talk fence. I love doing that. Talk fence and fence staining. Jimmy Dean Copenhaver Jr. That's a mouthful. Hey, Joe, top of the morning. Good morning. I'm setting 2-inch metal posts in a high wind area in the Mojave. How deep and how much cement? So it probably depends on wind load. 2-inch metal post. So you're probably setting CS40, Schedule 40, a heavy wall post. So a rule of thumb, take it for what it's worth, is half. If there's concern, half the height in the ground. So a 6-foot fence would be 3 foot in the ground, an 8-foot fence would be 4 foot in the ground. The Mojave, I'd have to think. So I haven't installed fence in a desert, but I would have to think that the soil conditions are loose. So you might end up going deeper than that. But it really depends on what you're also putting up. If you were putting up a solid privacy fence, it'd have significantly more wind load than, say, a chain link fence would. Also in the Mojave, probably not dealing with a lot of snow and ice, so weight load in the winter wouldn't be as much of a concern. Tell us more about the project, though, Jimmy. I'd love to hear about what you're building in the Mojave. I think that sounds incredibly interesting. Billy says, hey, Joe. Hello, Billy. Good morning. Gulf Coast Fence Solutions checking in from Pensacola, Florida. I'm always jealous of you Florida guys. I really am. I tell you what. So, all right. So there in the fencing community, I think you see this in the Facebook groups. Everyone's always jealous of everybody else's like digging conditions and whatever else, right? So I always say, so the best way to get someone's attention like at a fence tech would be to say in the middle of this crowded room, oh yeah, well you guys got it so good because I got to deal with rocks. And then everyone else would pipe it. Oh yeah, you think you've got it bad. I've got rocks, but they're bigger than your rocks. Or I've got rocks, but they're smaller than your rocks, but there's a lot of them. Or the guys that say, yeah, I wish I had rocks so I'd have nice firm footing to put this post in. I've got sandy soil, so I've got to go down, however many feet. Anyway, I like to say, I'm jealous of the Florida boys and girls building fence, but I'm sure the grass is always greener on the other side sort of thing. Tony Thornton's here. Hello, Tony. I need to get with you. I need to email you a link so we can schedule a time for you to come on. Let's chat about Fence Tech. I'd love to learn about, what Fence Tech is going to look like this year, who's planning on attending. So you see the same discussions in the Facebook groups that I'm seeing as to what the restrictions might be for people attending in the city of New Orleans. If they're staying in the city, what does that look like? If they're eating in the city, what does that look like? I don't know. So I'd love to open up this platform for a discussion on that. Bring yourself in and really just talk about what it looks like coming off of a year where we didn't have FinStech. Unfortunately, didn't have FinStech last year. So love to talk about that. Talk about, the vendors that are showing up who might want to showcase whatever they've got going on. Yeah. Need to get that scheduled, Tony. It's so good to see you here. Thank you, sir. What state is this taking place in? It's in New Orleans, which is in Louisiana. Every single year, New Orleans is in Louisiana. It's there pretty much full time, I believe. No, so it is in New Orleans, Louisiana. I don't know. So I had a friend, a really good friend. He and I were talking about New Orleans yesterday. Him and his wife were there earlier this year. Had a great time, but it was before the lockdown, or the not lockdown, I guess, but before a lot of the restrictions went in place. So could be a different place. But I've never been to New Orleans. I think it'll be an incredible time. I think, yeah, I'm excited to go. But there's some people that have some questions, and I think it'd be good to talk about it. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Jimmy. That helps a great deal, Joe. Thanks. You're very welcome. Tell us a little bit about what you're building, though. Now I'm interested. I want to hear about the fence that's being built in the Mojave. That seems like an incredibly interesting project to talk about. Florida has more tree roots. This is what I'm talking about. Oh yeah. Oh, you guys think you got it rough with rocks? Well, you should see the tree roots here. The things are big around as your head. Whose head is that? They're big around as that. They're massive roots. You guys got it good. You guys got small roots, and I wish I had rocks instead of roots. Everyone has it bad. Everyone has issues they have to get through, right? If it was easy, everybody do it. We're learning that more and more, aren't we? So, seems like in the jobs market, the jobs that require hard work and dedication are getting harder to fill. Everyone is wanting to do the easy work. So most certainly, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But those of us that are building fence continue to build fence and making better money at it. Less people doing it, less supply, more demand equals more profits. There's no two ways about it. Profits pay for the stress. We've been having that conversation this week. Like, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. I promise. We'll figure it out. Be happy to. Very good. FinSec is going to be a huge event. I can't wait. Tony, it's been, I want to say 2019. I want to say it's 2019 that was the last time. 2018 maybe. Was it Phoenix was the last one I went to? I didn't go to Salt Lake City because it was the same week as Social Media Marketing World, and I kind of made the decision between Salt Lake City and San Diego, California. I don't know. Went to San Diego. So anyway, I'm excited. I'm going to figure out what I need to do to get myself there. Yeah. Hey guys, let's pause right now. We've got a fair group of people in here right now. Guys, if you would hit the like button, it helps this channel tremendously. It helps this live tremendously if you like it, because it sends signals to either Facebook or YouTube, depending on where you're watching, that this content is helpful and useful. Means a lot. And it's a free way to support the channel. It's a win-win. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. Look below if you're on YouTube. If the subscribe button is the subscribe button is red, that means you haven't subscribed yet. Hit that. So we're getting better at percentages, right? It was like I'd have to double check. I'd want to say we were 8% of people that watch the videos are subscribed. I think we're over 10. We're making progress. So, but if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would love it a lot. It'd mean a lot to me and the team if you subscribe, because it lets YouTube know, again, that we're producing good content. I see some likes coming in. Thank you. I really, really do appreciate it. Zebra says, sometimes New Orleans takes a break from Louisiana, becomes part of the Gulf of Mexico. Fair. Okay. That's fair. Brent says, that's where I go, side by side in the wintertime, a lot of wind. Oh, I'm guessing in the Mojave. Okay. So I gotta say, I don't know that you go side by side in the winter in New Orleans. You could, I suppose, but I'm living in California. I have a feeling we're talking about the Mojave here. I do. It looks like you have a great time with that side by side. So I live vicariously through Brent's social media pages a lot of times. He has a side by side that is awesome, unless he flips that thing. Don't flip it anymore, Brent. Jeez, kind of scary. JJ says, come join us in Northeast Ohio for nothing but clay, rock, and sandstone. We also have to go up hills both ways on every job. This is what I'm talking about. Florida's got tree roots. Missouri's got chunk rock, which it's just a pain, right? So chunk rock, some of them are massive, some of them are little, but it's not shelf rock. If it was, sometimes we do hit shelf rock down in the lakes area. We hit shelf rock sometimes. You can just core drill into it and set to it with hydraulic cement. I mean, it's a freaking shelf rock. It's the strongest post in the fence line, probably. But anyway, well, Northeast Ohio has clay, rock, and sandstone. So the grass is always greener, guys. I'm here to tell you. You know, it'd be interesting. I need to reach out to Mark Olson. I'd like to have him on. So if you don't watch his channel, so Mark Olson, Successful Contractor channel here on YouTube. I believe I have it linked on the homepage. If I don't already, I'm going to check that right after the show. So Mark, one of the owners of SWI Fence there in Wyoming, a massive operation. They build a ton of fence. Recently relocated to Florida and is starting a new fence company. So it'd be interesting to see or to talk about the difference between Wyoming, which I would think would be incredibly rocky, and Florida, which, as we have been educated, has lots of tree roots, and they're very big. And Ohio has clay, rock, and sandstone. Roger's back. Hey, I made it. Hello, everyone. Hello, Roger. Like I said, Roger was here at 7:38 this morning and left a comment incredibly early, but we appreciate it. Casey and Julie Forrest say, I'm guessing this is probably Casey, says, come to Utah. We are better than California and all bums. All right. So there's that. So I'm actually going to California, going down to San Diego in February. I believe it's March this year for Social Media Marketing World. There's also a lot of conversations around that event on who does and does not feel comfortable going to California because, again, there's restrictions and regulations on who can go where. So there's conversations for that. But as you guys know, I'm all in on social media. So I'm planning on going because I need to learn more about this YouTube life, right? And figure out what kind of content you guys like to see and how best to make it. I've got some things to learn. I mean, obviously, we're still trying to figure out lighting. I think we've got audio and video fairly figured out, although I think we'll be upgrading video here in just a little bit. Get a camera with more dynamic range, which means it will make the picture look better, as far as I know. I wish when they were selling this stuff, they had explained it in fence guide terms, right? They're like, well, the dynamic range ranges from da-da-da-da-da to da-da-da-da. Like, well, that sounds like a lot. So it's probably going to look more better. Those are the words I'd use too. Anyway, so I need to go social media marketing world to learn more about making better video for you guys. Also, we said in the beginning, I'm going to start talking about this a lot because I think it's important to talk about the whole metaverse conversation, right? What is metaverse? What does it mean? What do you do with it? I don't know. But it's worth at least knowing what it is and how it operates so that we can see it. Is it something we need to adapt to? Kind of proud. I'm a bit of a trendsetter, I believe, for Southwest Missouri. I bought my first NFT, non-fungible token, earlier today. It was a ape wearing Mickey ears. So there's that. I'm going to get a picture frame, I think, and mount it here. Digital picture frame that displays NFTs. I think they're worth looking into. So we talk about cryptocurrency a little bit, and once you get deeper into the cryptocurrency conversation, you start talking about NFTs, which at this point is typically pieces of art. Would be the best term for it. You can have visual art, so your drawings, paintings, digital photography, that sort of thing. You could also have the audible arts, that thing, songs, right? So NFTs, I think, are an interesting conversation. Do they relate to fence? I don't know, but I'm digging into it so we can see. I want to do all the research on it to know maybe it doesn't have anything in the world to do with fence, but maybe it does. And the first ones to figure it out might have an advantage over those that are a little bit slower to figure it out. And one thing about being in the middle of the country, right here in the Midwest, Southwest Missouri, is we're the last to learn about a lot of stuff, right? So a lot of stuff happens on either coast, West Coast, East Coast, before it happens here. Usually we're a solid year to 2 years behind the coast in terms of trends and in terms of, economic fluctuations. Maybe not 2 years. That's a bit much for economics. But as far as trends, fashion, whatever, typically it takes it a couple years to get to the Midwest. Now, with technology being the way it is, we're a little bit more caught up. But anyway, so I'm just now, I say just now, within the last couple months, getting into cryptocurrency and therefore NFTs and all the rest. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're trying to figure it out. And when I do figure it out, I'm going to bring it to you guys. I want to bring in, so Jeremy and I were going over a list of guests. I don't know that we heard back from these guys. We've got some exciting ones confirmed. We're checking dates with a few others. One of them I want to talk about. I want to talk to some of them about cryptocurrency, so that I can have a better understanding and hopefully give you guys a better understanding. As we talked about last week, we're going to be accepting cryptocurrency, which through BitPay, and from what I've read about BitPay, their white pages and such, they can accept most common coins, Bitcoins. So not just Bitcoins, not just Ethereum, not just Dogecoin. There's like 130 of these things that they accept. So anyway, I'll bring you more information as it becomes available to me. Zebra says, I live in northern Utah. You missed out on all the you made the right decision. San Diego has better weather 364 days out of the year. That's probably true. However, when I was there, so when we went there for the conference, so last February, it was cold and rainy the entire week. I kind of regretted the decision because I watched all my fence friends having great times on snowmobiles and all the fun stuff you do, all the winter sports you guys have up there. And I was stuck in, walking through the cold rain in Southern California. That was not at all how I had that trip envisioned a bit. So anyway, Michael Babbitt says, this was my first summer in business. Congratulations. How did it go? Did a few jobs. Now, here in northern Michigan, things are slowing, and I will inevitably stop for a few months. I'm looking to take time to look at advertising and marketing for my business. Where would you suggest I start? I would suggest you start making videos about you and about your company and about what you do. Now is actually going to be the best time. Since it's slow, you don't have to worry about taking time off of a project to try to make these videos. So what videos do you make? You make videos answering your customers' most frequently asked questions. So get this book. I'm looking up here because I always the name wrong. They Ask You Answer. Marcus Sheridan. There it is. Go get the book. Actually, there's a new version of that book, or a new book out by Marcus Sheridan. Basically, They Ask You Answer. This is the most basic concept, but it's a concept that works incredibly well. Start with the top 10 questions you get, which are, in northern Michigan, we don't build fence all year. So when do we start building fence? Well, the fence season typically starts X and ends Y. When's the best time to get a fence installed in Michigan? I would probably think the summertime, but maybe not. What makes fence building different in Michigan than it does in Florida? So whatever the most frequently asked questions are that you get day in, day out, that you're tired of answering, right? Those are the questions you start with. And guys, this is super easy. Actually, this week's hot take was on Wednesday. We put out a hot take every Wednesday, which is a snippet of this 3-hour, 2.5-hour live interview, like a 3 to 5 minute snippet of this. And so this week's was start making video and start making it today. And you can use your phone, right? You can simply set your phone up on a tripod. Typically in landscape means sideways, right? So typically sideways, and then just start filming your frequently asked questions. Guys, these things shoot in so much detail. The video quality is amazing. Audio quality is pretty good on these phones as long as you're in a quiet situation, quiet location. There you go. And then, of course, you can upgrade the audio. Rode, RODE, is a brand worth looking into. They make good audio equipment for phones where you simply plug it in and go. Yeah, and you just start creating video content. Start creating it now, because branding does not make your phone ring tomorrow, but it does make your phone ring long term. So Yeah, that's where I would start. Inevitably stop for a few months, probably northern Michigan. So we're starting to see a slowdown here in Southwest Missouri. Now, I had this question last night, which means we need to do another video on it because the questions are coming out again. When do you guys start building fence again? When do you guys stop building fence? Well, here in Southwest Missouri, we don't get winters that are really. Now we used to. When I was a kid, we got winters that were crazy. I mean, this was snow that was 4 or 5 foot deep. You could make like snow huts and tunnel in the snow and all that. Hasn't happened since I was a kid, right? So a massive snow event here would be 2 or 3 inches and then it'd be gone in the next couple of days. We do not get enough winter weather here for us to even slow down. We could still build fence just the same all throughout the winter. If it gets too cold, we'll add calcium chloride to the water, which will heat that water right up, and we'll still be setting concrete. We can also drive posts. I don't want to start that discussion. Concrete versus driving, I think they both have their place. Irregardless. That's a question that's starting to come up here, so we need to create that video again. Hey, guys, Joe Everest with Those Arc Fence. Question I'm starting to get a lot is how much longer do you guys have left building fence this year? The question is, and the answer is we build fence all year long. We actually don't stop unless we get enough ice on the road to where it makes it dangerous to drive one of our trucks and trailers. And even then, it usually only delays us for a day or two. Something to that effect, right? Quick and easy question, quick and easy answer. And since it's a question that people are having right now, you'll have better success putting it out there because more people will be watching it. It's a question a lot of people are wondering. If they're thinking about a fence, they're probably wondering, how much longer do I have until the fence season ends? In your case, how much longer do I have till the fence season begins? And what do I need to do now to get on that list for the first fence job next year? That would be a great video. Hey, hey guys, it's Michael. Question I get a lot is, when do you guys start building fence? And the answer is we'll see when everything thaws out. But what can you, and a follow-up question being, what can I do to get on your list to be one of the first fences installed? Well, great question. To get on our list, give me a call at I can still come out and take a look at your project, give you an accurate proposal on it, and then we'll get you on the list. Whatever your process is, right? So we'll get a deposit, contract for services. We'll get you on the list for the first fence of next season. Something to that effect. And those videos are super easy. They really are. These platforms are free right now. And it's free to post on Facebook. Now, you can boost it and you can create an ad. I probably would. I'd probably put it up and I'd boost it for, say, $20 just to see how it did and make sure it resonates in the way I think it's going to resonate with my group. And as long as it does, so as long as you start seeing good feedback, good through plays, so you have a call to action, which would be learn more, which goes to your website. As long as you're seeing good link clicks, whatever your metric is that you want to see moved, it'd likely be video views, right? Completed video views. As long as you're seeing that metric come through, you start putting an ad campaign together. Let that video run all through the wintertime. But it all starts with making video. You got to get comfortable making video. I would suggest live video because when we're shooting live video, we don't have a chance to stop whenever I screw up a word. What was the word earlier? Soonly. I don't know. I probably would have stopped that and re-recorded it to like timely and use a different word. The correct word. Soonly is probably not a word. It actually, I'm almost 100% sure that's not a word, but you got what I meant, right? All right. So anyway, do it live. It lets people interact with you. It also gives you the opportunity to get it out there without feeling like you've got to stop and edit, put a bunch of time into the production quality of this thing. Get it out there and let it live. So I would suggest you start with videos. Great question. 3 Sides of Eve. That's a nice name. What would you recommend for an auto open gate to connect a 4x4 ranch style farm fence? So gate operator. The 4x4 is going to be your issue because no matter how good of an operator you put on this gate and gate post, that 4x4 is a natural product. It's an organic product, right? So it's not going to keep its shape over the next 10 to 15 years. Whenever we're putting in gate operators, we like to see a steel post just because we know as long as that post is set correctly, that post isn't going to move, right? But that's not what you asked. You asked, what would you recommend for an auto open gate to connect to 4x4 ranch style farm fence? All right. Everybody's got opinions on gate openators. Nope. Gate operators or gate openers. Gate openators is a combination of those two words, apparently. Gate operators, everyone has their own. Everyone, has their preferred brand. When we were installing them in house, I liked Viking gate operators. I liked them a lot. The boards were straightforward and intuitive. You understood what they were doing and why they were doing it. Also, so the current version also has a LCD readout screen. So if it has an error, it'll tell you what the error is. There's other good brands out there. There's, Lift. We've used LiftMaster. We've used Elite. We've used a lot of. Kept coming back to Viking. It's a good solid brand, and it has a fair amount of bells and whistles that come standard on it. Rather than there's some gate operator brands that are less expensive up front, but then they nickel and dime you for every accessory you need. Kind of like airlines, right? So you have standard airlines where, I don't know, taking luggage with you comes standard with your airfare ticket. And you have other brands where you pay for every bag you take on, because their point being, hey, maybe some people don't want to take bags and they're not going to get charged for it. Gate operators are the same way. So there's some brands out there that are lower cost because some people just want that gate opener to work with one button. Now, there is an entire discussion about UL 325 that you should certainly look into. You should make sure your gate operator follows UL 325 in its requirements, which are 2 modes of entrapment prevention. That's the big one. There's a lot of stipulations with UL 325. You should certainly look into it and consider that when buying your gate operator. But when you're asking me brands, I'd go with Viking. I'd prefer to see the post be a steel post rather than a wood post, but you got what you got, right? So there's some brands out there that we don't enjoy. Mark Olson had a nice video about a gate operator brand, and then got a cease and desist letter from them. I think there was something about spooky controls in the title. So I'm sure if you went on YouTube and you searched Mark Olson spooky controllers or spooky operators, you'd probably find it. So I'd steer clear of that one. Anyway, Viking would be my choice, or Liftmaster Elite, Door King, I suppose, would be probably solid choices. So this is a good recommendation. Patriot makes good operators. We've installed one. It was a owner provided unit. Seems solid, well made. I don't know about the price. Like I said, it was owner supplied, which we don't typically do, but this company was a good customer of ours. So I said, all right, we're not going to warranty it. We'll put it on. That's about it. It's up to you to make sure it works long term. And they were fine with for whatever reason. All right, guys, drop your questions, comments, etc. in the comments below. So we've been talking about marketing lately. It's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that's easy right now. It can be nerve wracking. We just talked about video, and that's something that I'm passionate about, quite obviously. So, here's why. And those of you that have seen me speak, you've heard this story. We did there for a while when I was running the residential division. We did a lot of Facebook video. Now, we're working on getting Sarah comfortable on camera, and that's not an easy feat, but it's important. And here's why. So this was before. This is before we had revamped our sales process. So we were still going on site. We were doing free written estimates for anyone who had called and said they wanted a fence. We'd run right out and measure it and give them a bid on it. We didn't know what we didn't know, right? So, but we're doing a lot of Facebook videos. In the Facebook videos, we're doing Ask a Fence Guy Friday. So it's literally me in front of. I started out with my phone for Ask a Fence Guy. I would go Facebook Live and just say, "Hey guys, Joe Everest, Ozark Fence. It's Ask a Fence Guy Friday. A question we're getting a lot. Again, answer your customers' questions. Question we're getting a lot this week is whatever question the gals answered the phones told me they were getting a lot that week. Also, another question we get is second most common question. Also, I want to talk to you guys about the upcoming home show, lawn and garden show, the local chamber expo that we're going to be at. I'd love to see you guys there. I'd love to answer your questions in person. Anyway, did a lot of those. Also, did some product videos. So we enjoy using the Postmaster Post. There are other posts out there. I completely understand. We like the Postmaster Post. It's just what we've used forever, and it hasn't failed us yet, and it's priced right. So anyway, Postmaster Post. So we did a few videos. Actually, those videos are still running today. Those videos are probably 4 or 5 years old. Basically saying, hey guys, Joe Everest to those arc fence. Just like we transition from pine materials to cedar materials because it's a better product consideration for you, you get better value. We've now transitioned from wood post to steel post, and here's why. And I showed the Postmaster Post. Here's the benefits. It's galvanized, so it's not going to rust. It's actually got a warranty against rust corrosion. Also has a warranty for wind damage or failure due to wind load. Just went into the specifications of the product. It was, I want to say it was a 2 or 3 minute video. It might have been 5 minutes. It wasn't very long. Anyway, so we did these videos. And then one day I went and knocked on this lady's door. Didn't know her from anybody else. Name wasn't familiar and all that. Just knocked on the door, stepped back. She answers the door and I said, hey, hey there, Miss Smith. Joe Everest with those arc fence. Whoop. Here to give you a bit on some fence. She goes, I know you. You're the guy from Facebook. I'm like, yeah, actually I am. So, and this is a question I'd got. That comment came up enough to where I kind of had an answer for. So, oh yeah, absolutely. I said, here's the thing. Or she basically the comment was, you're the guy from Facebook. I wasn't expecting to see you here. I said, well, yeah. I said, here's the thing. I'm too cheap to hire somebody to do those videos. And if I did, it wouldn't look like me. And then we went to the backyard and measured. And I said, now, Miss Customer, Miss Smith, we're a little bit different than other competitors in our area in that we use steel post exclusively. And here's the reason are because and she goes, oh, I did see that video where you used to use wood post, now you steel post, just like how we used to use. Now you're been cedar materials, right? Because you said you also upgraded from pine to cedar. So yeah, that's right. She goes, yeah, that's exactly what I want. And it is at that moment that I realized my sales pitch was over, right? This lady had received all the information she needed through watching videos of me on her own time. She knew me and my company. She knew the product I was there to talk about, and she knew its value. She knew why it was valuable. My job was simply to give her the proposal and see if it fit in her budget. And that was the day I realized how powerful video marketing can be in that she did her own research on her own time, and she felt most comfortable with me because I was the only one that had that content out there. The rest of these companies were faceless companies that were just sending somebody out. Our company, she's dealing with me, the guy she saw on Facebook, and she trusted before I even knocked on her door. It's powerful, guys. It really, really is. The sooner you can start making videos based on your guys' company and your guys' process, the better. Mike Couch. Welcome, Mike. Here from Ohio. Ohio. Hello, Mike. No, it's not Ohio. OHIO. There you go. Mike says, it's great that you're using cedar since it can be stained right away. That is my favorite thing about cedar. So I'm actually thinking about doing a video. We need to build version 2.0 of our stain tank. Version 1.0 works. Actually, we stained pickets in it yesterday. They're up there drying right now. But I want to do a video for you guys about the staining process. One tidbit we had pulled away from, I believe it was Kenny. When Kenny was up here, Kenny or Caleb, I think it was Kenny, was how to stack the pickets, right? So how to have airflow. It might have been either Caleb or Kenny. Anyway, so how you space these pickets apart, right? Because each row needs airflow through it to keep these cedar pickets dry. We started doing that 2 weeks ago, and the results have been really, really nice as far as stain uptake when pre-staining, because it gets those cedar pickets incredibly dry. I mean, they were always below 13-14%, but now we're talking about super dry, which just means they are absorbing that stain like a sponge, and it looks so nice. But you're right. The great thing about cedar is we can pre-stain it. I'll circle back around to this here in a minute, but that's one of the things we do in the wintertime. And actually, so I saw him comment on here. I got this from Sean. Don't offer discounts, offer upgrade credits, right? So we did know what we didn't know. We saw everyone else offering discounts. We used to offer 10% off in the wintertime. So just to keep our guys busy. Now, we make 10% net profit, right? If we do things well and we do them right and all that, at the time we were making, we were lucky to make 10% net profit. So basically what we were doing is giving away our profit to keep our guys busy. It's a trade-off that made sense for us because it let us retain our team members. We didn't have to rehire and retrain in the spring. But after I watched enough of Sean's video and I got hit over the head hard enough, I just thought, you know what? We need to find an upgrade. We need to find something that we can upgrade on this fence rather than discount. And using cedar materials and pre-staining it is our upgrade. So we offer a free upgrade to pre-stained materials if you build a fence during our off season. We're running that special right now. Free upgrade to pre-stained cedar materials. It also helps a customer get into one of the higher quality fences as well. I mean, we will offer a pine. If the customer says, I'm absolutely only going to consider pine, I don't have the budget for cedar, we'll talk about pine. But having the pre-stain typically provides enough incentive, enough extra value that customer goes from talking about or wanting to talk about pine fence to talking about cedar, because we can pre-stain cedar. Pine, you need to let season for just, you need to let the moisture content come down before we can come out and stain it. Anyway, so you're right. Cedar can be stained right away. Good morning, Sean King. Welcome. Sean says, watching from the seat on an airplane again. This seems like a normal event. Sean, it is hard to keep track of you. It really is. Every time I see another video, you're somewhere else in the country helping guys learn how to build fence. And that is a noble pursuit, sir. But my point still stands. It's hard to keep track of you. Where it's like, it used to be, where's Waldo? Now it's where's Sean King? And instead of like a red and white striped shirt, it's a blue. And if I'm looking at this in a book, it's a blue chrome shirt. Where's the blue guy? Where's the blue guy? There he is. Texas. Found him. Welcome, Sean. Brent says, that's how I found the breeder for my bulldog. Went on YouTube, and that's how I made my decision. Guys, this is so real, it's not funny. This is how people are currently making purchasing decisions, is they want to get all of the information, all the education for themselves so that they can make an educated decision. What if you are the only person in your market giving this education, right? Giving this information so that the customer can make the best decision for themselves. So if they're sitting there looking at two proposals, and one of them is giving away all the information for free in a video format that they can consume on their own schedule, and the other one makes them email the salesman to try to get information. Maybe the salesman doesn't want to give that information or is cagey about it. Which of those two proposals do you think they're going to feel more comfortable with? All other things being equal, the guy that gives the information away for free. Here's the thing. Your customers, your clients, whatever you choose to call them, the people that you want to give you money, they know that you know the answers to these questions, right? That's why they're coming to you. You are the professional in this area of expertise. So when you try to, how much is a fence? Well, it depends. A lot of fence guys would say, well, it depends. Let me come out and I'll give you a free proposal. I said, well, I just really want a budgetary figure. Like, how much does it cost? Well, it really depends. Because there was a school of thought previously that to make a sale, you had to be in front of the customer. You did not sell over the phone. You most certainly did not sell online. You needed to be in the customer's living room or the client's living room so that you could give them your sales pitch. And while you're there, you would make an offer that was so incredible, they would take advantage of it right away. But that offer went away the moment you walked out the door. That worked for a while. I was listening to a podcast where it was talking about this subject, and I forget which one, but they're talking about vacuums. So it's a vacuum guy that really kind of pioneered this concept, and it's why that they employed door-to-door salesmen for years and years and years after most vacuum cleaners started opening up brick and mortar stores or selling them through other brick and mortar stores. He said, absolutely not. We have a sales system that works when we're in the living room. You present them with information, you give them an incredible offer, but that offer goes away the minute that you leave their living room. That worked. The thing is, people became wise to that, right? So I don't want to be sold to. I want to make my own purchasing decision. I want to do all the research. I want to know all the things about it. And I want to pick the option that's best for my specific scenario. Now, we as fence guys and gals understand a lot of these scenarios are the same, right? The yard that is so odd and so weird and so incredibly unique to the client actually looks pretty similar to most every other yard that we install in, right? Now, it could be a unique shape, it could have some slope to it. There could be some things that make this unique, but it's 98% of the same fence job that you install the majority of the year, right? So it's unique, but it's not. We need to change how we sell fence because gone are the days where you're meeting in someone's living room. Now, especially when we're dealing with a pandemic, right? So we also need to consider quite possibly the fact that these pandemic conditions may possibly come back around again, right? So we need to develop a process that works irregardless if there are pandemics type restrictions on how we interact with the public or how we interact with our potential clients. Knocking on doors and doing in person proposals might not be possible, right? In a pandemic type situation. So I think behoove of us. How does that thing said? Behoove us? It would make sense if we had a selling style or a selling system that didn't require us to physically meet our client face to face. I think so. So video is the first step in that. Let them meet you on their terms in a safe environment. Let you answer all of their questions again on their terms in a safe environment. Guys, I'm telling you, there's something to this video stuff. There really is. All right. Yeah. Zero discounts. That's what I'm saying. Sean, I didn't know what I didn't know. Right. So I used to do discounts and they worked. They were effective, right? Because some of our competitors couldn't afford to do discounts, and we could, so we did. But now we do free upgrades, and it is the same scenario, right? Our a lot of our competitors can't afford to do free upgrades, or they don't have them available. We are, as of right now, as far as I know, we're the only fencing contractor in Southwest Missouri that offers pre-stained on site. Well, on our site, in-house pre-staining services, right? So that's a unique selling proposition for us. Upgrades, upgrades, upgrades. Sean's coming back from Houston. So I'm not going to say this because, so while I'm saying this, if you're watching YouTube, there very well could be closed captions beneath this. And those tell me that there are metrics listening, right? But maybe this is a thing. Will says we use Western Red Cedar pickets 80% of the time. For budget-minded people, we use 3/4 by 6x6 ultra premium treated Doug fir dog ear fence picket. Got it. So we use the Alta Western Red Cedar. Good boards, nice boards. I need to check and see if our branch handles the treated pine. I don't know that I want to stock treated pine though. I don't know. We buy it locally just because then we don't have to stock it and we can return the materials right when we're done with them. The problem with treated is quite often it starts making, funny shapes if you don't put it on structure more or less right away. So I like being able to return it right when we're done with it and get credit back for that so that we're not wasting this material. But I'll see if our local master Halco dealer, nope, supply house whatever you want to call them, location, carries the treated Doug fir. I've heard of guys using that, and they like it a lot. So might be worth checking out. Guys, if you haven't yet, give this a like, whether you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube. It's a great free way to help this channel, and it sends signals out there into the ether that we're producing good content here, and it really helps this channel. Free way to support the channel, and I really appreciate it. Oh, okay. All right. And they are pre-stained. So pre-stained Doug fir, so pre-stained pine. Excellent. Good to know. All right, guys, we're an hour into this, so we're roughly halfway through, a little less than halfway through. Let me know your questions or comments, whatever you'd like to discuss and talk about in the comment section, and we'll be sure to get into it. We got 11 people with us right now. Guys, I really appreciate it. Interesting to see, and this is usually the case. So there's more people on YouTube than on Facebook. Weird. I don't know. So I share it to both platforms. Both platforms get the notification, but it seems that maybe YouTube does a better job of notifying people when the content goes out. Good to know, I suppose. But all right. So, all right. So what did I say I want to circle back around to? I think I want to circle back around to free upgrades. So that was something that we started doing a few years ago, a few seasons ago, and have had great results. Right. So let's talk about free upgrades from a business perspective. So from a numbers perspective, right? So we used to give 10% off, which means we gave up our profit. Well, now by offering a free upgrade, we basically split, like the way the numbers come out, we basically split the profit. So we're installing the fence at full profit, and now we are pre-staining that for free for a free upgrade, right? So there is cost associated with purchasing the stain. There is cost associated with the labor of pre-staining it, that sort of thing. But it does a couple things for us. One, it gives our guys stuff to do in the wintertime. So we have a stain shop that is heated. So right now it is a balmy 60 degrees in there because we're drying out those pre-stained fence pickets. So it gives guys something to do in the wintertime. So we can pre-stain pickets if it's raining, if it's snowing, heck, if it's icing out there, but the guys feel comfortable coming in, we can work all day. We can get a straight 8 hours, a full 8 hours of work in that day where we might not be building fence. So it keeps our guys busy in the off season. It also offers the client a legitimate value upgrade, right? So this isn't a created value. So we didn't just make up this value. It's a legitimate value. We can show them that this pre-staining would, cost X dollars. However, we are giving them that free upgrade, right? There is legitimate value to it that the customer is receiving. And then we're also, so we keep the guys busy during the winter. Oh, we're also making stained fences more common in our area, more commonly acceptable. So we really have one competitor that does pre-staining fence staining in a commercial fashion. I say it like that because in every single market, everyone has these guys that are jack of all trades. They will clean your gutters. They will rake your leaves. They will do this. They will do that. They will also stain your fence and your porch and your shutters and everything else around your house, typically, whether you wanted it stained or not. There's guys out there. We have one really legitimate commercial contract or commercial company, and they're a franchise that does staining. I say that to say not to belittle the people that are doing it in our area, but saying it's not that common to see a stained fence in our market. So by offering this free upgrade, we're also putting more stained fences into the market so that it is a more common sight to see. So it makes sense when the customer sees the option to upgrade to pre-stained materials. That's how we offer it, whether it's in season or off season, peak season or slow season, whatever you want to call it. We always show the upgrade to pre-stained cedar materials, cedar materials. So whether it's a free upgrade in the off season or it's a paid upgrade in the peak season, it's always offered. So anyway, so us putting it out in the market, getting more of it out there makes it more normal. So This is exactly right. It doesn't devalue your original project to your customer. So this is an important point too. And Sean makes this point probably clearer than I do, but by offering a discount, it devalues your product. So if you say, I will install this fence for $1,000 less 10%, so now it's $900. Now all of a sudden, this customer knows that this fence is a $900 fence. So if they, for whatever reason, if they're not in the right place or time or whatever to have that fence installed, they have it rebid 4 months later, and now all of a sudden you're busy and you tell them that's $1,000 fence. They say, no, it's not. You told me it's a $900. You can build this fence for $900. You told me that. Now you're going to charge me $1,000 or $1,100, whatever the current price is. Well, now you're taking advantage of me because I know you can build this fence for $900. It devalues your product. So that's absolutely one of the core reasons why you should offer upgrades. Now, Sean has this thing nailed to where if it's an ornamental fence, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, they'll offer a free upgrade to archtop gates. Incredible decision. Like that is, again, a worthwhile value upgrade to the client. It also helps make that sale during the off season. It also makes archtop gates more normal. It leads people to request archtop gates throughout the year. It's a great idea. Sean says, if you're on 50% margin, then it only costs you 50% of the upgrade instead of 100% of the cost of value. Bingo. So I considered for half a second getting into markup and margin, and that would take the rest of this time talking about markup and margin, but that's absolutely right. So you're getting full markup on the fence, and then you're getting no markup on the free upgrade, but you're operating 50% margin. Anyway, it makes financial sense. It really does. I wish I could explain that concept better. Sean, I need to have you on. So because you do a good job of showing all the numbers on what discounting actually costs the contractor. Because I think that's something I don't articulate very well. What the markup and margin actually, how that actually affects the contractor. But you had in Columbus, you had shared a slideshow with the people that attended that show about markup and margin, and I thought that was incredibly interesting. Customers want best value, not lowest price when you really break it down. That's right. Most of the time. Now, there are some customers out there that are simply financially motivated. They are looking for the lowest dollar. They will take the lowest bid. And we need to pause and think about, is that our ideal client? Right? Is that our ideal client? Is that what our ideal person looks like that we want to interact with? Is a person that is looking to cut corners and pinch pennies at every given opportunity? Probably not. We should really be looking for the clients that value the highest value. So again, this works in a lot of ways, guys. It really does. Flow savers, fence armor, double-sided latches, keyed, all great ideas. Sean, we're working on a video here. I think that's exactly what we're doing in real time, is fleshing out a video between the two of us. So I'm going to send you an email when this is over. Do you give military discount? No, but we will give an upgrade. No discounts. There are no discounts, especially in today's economy. Tell me who right now is offering a discount on anything. No one. Try going and buying a vehicle right now. There are no dealer incentives. There are no rebates. They will sell you a vehicle at full price if they have it. If you don't want it, no sweat. There will be someone that comes along that wants that vehicle. No discounts, no rebates, no dealer incentives. It is what it is. There might be, so that's probably not true. Dealer incentives right now are typically going to be revolved around financing because the dealers have also figured out how to make money on the financing. So there is that. No discounts. Go get a discount on anything that's not there. We offer free upgrades. So, for any of our military, any public servants in general, police officers, firemen, health services in any capacity, if you make our community better, now it could be our local community or our national community. If you make our community better, we will offer you a free upgrade, no matter what time of year. Period. We can't afford to offer discounts. All right. So I want to circle back around. Oh, okay. Sean says about takeoff, guys. Enjoy. Be in touch. Send me the email. Let's go. You got it. So let's go back because I saw an interesting conversation here. Z Spiel says, let's go back to the fundamentals a little bit on this question. Talk a little bit about how you guys set up your initial string line. So he clarifies here a second ago. So set up your initial string line when you're setting your post. So we've gone to using Sean's equalizer tool, which is it is a string line, but it is also a proportional measuring device at the same time. So traditionally, the way I was trained, the way I came up building fence was you would have a string line 6 inches off of your actual fence line so that you didn't have to move it every time you're drilling a hole. You measured 6 inches off of your start point, 6 inches off of your end point. That was your line plus 6 inches. Then you would take your tape measure. Well, you would have to take a calculator, figure out the fence line is X feet, divide that by, if we're doing wood, we did a lot of wood, we would divide that by 8. We want our post to be a maximum of 8 foot on center. Well, it usually come out to some fractional number, 7 point some remainder, right? 7.58, whatever. So we'd say, okay, so 7.58, so 7.5. We're going to measure 7.5, and then the last section will be whatever that remainder is, right? Or we would split it. If it was a really weird one, we'd split it over 2 sections. There was some math involved in this, right? And then we'd have to take the tape measure and we'd measure out 7.5, go mark it all the way down this line. If this is like a 300-foot line, that's a good bit of marking. And it's not exactly accurate, right? So you can start getting off. I mean, let's just talk about the paint marking is what, an inch, maybe more, maybe less. Inch sounds like a good average. So when you're marking this, are you starting on the front of the mark, starting on the back of the mark, you're starting in the middle of the mark? Now you've got an inch margin of error. So are you measuring from the middle of that paint on one edge or the other of the paint? You start getting off, right? So, and typically you make up for that in the last panel or the last 2 panels, and it doesn't make a huge difference, but it's inaccurate. So what the equalizer tool does, understand, I don't get commission on it. Sean and I are going. I'd like to have a conversation with Sean about selling them. So we are starting to sell fence materials online because fence material pricing is a little crazy right now. I see the middlemen inflating prices a bit. So anyway, I'm going to take advantage of that. Sell them for what they should cost. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. I'm going to talk to Sean about selling this tool. However, right now, before I even started selling these tools, my opinion was it's a valuable tool, and we use it. Our guys use it out on the truck. I use it in videos. It is a great tool. So we use the equalizer to both run our string line, right, or our fence line. Now we still step off 6 inches so that we don't have to move it when we're drilling. We simply measure 6 inches. That gives us our line. But it also, in an instant, gives us our exact proportional markings, just because the way this thing works, think a bungee cord, like an industrial bungee cord, with markings at exactly where these posts should be. If you stretch this thing out to the tightest it can go, those will be your 8 foot markings. So the most these posts can be spaced is 8 foot on center. However, if you relax it to that last tag lines up with your corner, your end, wherever you want to change direction, or in this fence, then every tab along the line now automatically readjusts to whatever that 7 foot and a remainder is. It is a great tool. I've got a video. I know it's kind of hard to explain in words. I've got a video on my channel here on, if you guys are watching me on YouTube, where I use that equalizer tool. I explain it a little bit. It is incredibly fast and by default is incredibly accurate. So you should certainly check it out. Will says, we have to give military discount here in San Antonio, Texas. About 50% of my customers are military. We have a huge military population here and they expect it. I don't know. I think when you offer it to clients, a free upgrade is as valuable or more valuable than a discount. I really do. Discounts cheapen everything. And like I said, in this economy, this is the best time to transition to upgrades because right now there are no upgrades anywhere. Everything costs the most it can possibly cost. And also, I think it'd be easy to have a conversation and say, well, if they're giving you a discount, does that mean they would have charged you more had you not told them? I don't know. Like, I want to give you my straight price from the get. And then if you present a military ID or a first responder ID, whatever, I'd be happy to then offer you a free upgrade. Right. But I'm not going to try to take advantage of you not knowing that you're not military or what have you. I don't know. A free upgrade to a customer should be, if it's presented correctly. And here's the thing, guys, too, you actually have to offer an increased value, right? It can't be a free upgrade into some perceived upgrade or a perceived value. Like, it has to be a legitimate increased value to the customer. Again, using fences, upgrading to a pre-stained product is a legitimate value. I can show them this is what it would cost to upgrade to pre-stained. I will give that upgrade to you for free. Now, the fence itself, I can't discount that. My numbers are so dialed in. If I were to give you a discount, I would have to inflate that price and then give you a discount, and we would be back to this number. So what I figure is that you don't want to spend time negotiating with me and then at the end of it, not knowing if you actually got the good deal, right? So if I offered you a 10% discount, could you have gotten me down to 12? I don't know. You're always left with that question. It's how I'm left feeling after I leave, buying a vehicle. Did I get them down enough? Like, was there actually money left on the table? I don't know. Offering free upgrades takes that away. This is my number. This is what I can afford to build the fence for you. I've done my numbers frontwards, backwards, sideways. This is exactly how much it costs to build this fence. Now, to say thank you for your service, I would love to then offer a free upgrade to pre-stained or archtop gates. Sean had some good suggestions. Where are they? Offer post savers or fence armor. So post savers if it's wood post armor if it's posts that are already installed and you're staining that fence. Double-sided latches that are keyed. There are upgrades available that you can offer for free. However, the price of your fence is the price of your fence. And that's the way it is. And like I said, it's all in how you explain it, right? So I'm sure if you just came right out and said, nope, no discounts, only upgrades. You're like, well, these other guys are offering discounts. You're like, well, that's how it is. Sorry. That conversation sounds a lot different than, I absolutely understand. Could I offer you a discount? Sure. But I would have to make my fence more expensive and then discount it to you. I mean, I can't discount my costs. I can't go to my supplier and say this one project is for someone with with military service, and then they offer me a discount. I can't go to my guys that are installing the fence and ask them to work for less for this one project. So I can't go get discounts from everywhere else because of the service. However, what I can do as a business owner is I can upgrade this project for free. I get a free upgrade for this project on some things I can control, which could be stain, which could be fence armor, post saver, a double-sided latch that's keyed, whatever it is, arch top gates, pre-stain, whatever. Figure out what makes sense in your market. What do people value? So, and what product do you want to get more into the market? Right? Like I said, that's how pre-staining really makes sense for us, is that our customers find it incredibly valuable. And we get pre-stained fences into the market. And now we're normalizing what, until now was kind of an oddity, right? There wasn't really anyone doing pre-stained fence unless they order the materials in pre-stained, but that's rare in our market. So anyway, works on a lot of levels. Great question though. And I think this is a great discussion. It's a discussion that we need to have, right? And someone out there needs to hear this message that for the sake of your business, stop offering discounts and start offering free upgrades. And it will absolutely change the financial future of your business. That's another conversation to have. So I had an interesting conversation out in the fabrication shop yesterday, Thursday or Friday. They all kind of blend together anymore. But we were talking about, so in this particular instance, so we bring in all of our steel long stock. So rather than order in 2.5-inch, 8-foot terminal posts, we bring in 24-foot posts, and then we cut them into whatever sizes we need. Saves a little bit of money, but also gives us greater flexibility, right? So if we needed to, we could cut out 9-foot posts. In this case, we were cutting out 7-foot posts. For whatever reason, well, I know the reason. The contractor that was buying these posts from us, they were doing a fence in Kansas for a highway fence. So it had to meet highway specs, which were 4 foot out of the ground, 3 foot in the ground, 2.5-inch CS40 for line posts. Incredible spec, right? These things are going nowhere, but that's what he needed. Now we had CS40 long stock, 24 foot, but some quick back in the napkin math tells you that 7 does not go into 28, right? Or 34. 34 foot is long stock. Well, we get them in 21, 22, 34. Anyway, 7 foot didn't work. So we were going to have 3 foot. So let's do the quick math. He was going to have 3 posts, and then he's going to have a 2-foot section after. So 23 feet. These are 23-foot pieces, which is kind of an odd size. They were probably supposed to be 24s. They came in 23s, which oddly enough is not that weird, apparently. So when we're ordering in long stock, it kind of comes in whatever's close. So 24 foot could actually be 25 foot, could be 23 foot. It's supposed to be 24 foot. Anyway, so the moral of this story, he was going to have 3 7-foot cuts, and then he was going to have a 2-foot drop. What do you do with a 2-foot piece? You hold on to it, and then maybe you hope that later on you need to extend a post, and then you weld it back on, but you end up having a pile. This guy needed 30 of these posts. So we're going to have 30 pieces that are 2 foot long, and we're just going to sit on them for a while. They're going to sit out behind the shop. We're probably going to forget about them for a while until somebody else finds them, and then we remember them. We bring them back in. They're not going to do us a bit of good. They're not going to make a penny for us for a while. So rather than do that, we decided we were going to cut out 2 posts and then leave a long post, right? So anyway, leave a longer post. So and his point being, he's like, listen, right now, I know we can afford to have drops, right? Like, economy is good right now. Everyone's making money. He said what his point was, which is valid, is at some point, this music is going to stop. At some point, we are going to be done with a roaring economy and things will cool off. Maybe it won't shut down. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's not a disaster. I hope it's not. But it will at some point cool. It will be done being red hot. It will cool slightly. And we need to focus right now on being efficient because our competitors are not. Right? Our competitors are full go. They're not even considering being efficient because they can afford not to be. Because sometimes efficiency is a little bit slower. You got to sit and think about how to do things and really how to do them for less than you were doing them before. It takes time and effort. So they're not doing them. And his point was, he said, hey, listen, if we spend time figuring out how to be efficient now, then when things do cool down, when the economy does slow down, all of a sudden, we've been doing this for a while. We have figured out how to be incredibly efficient. No longer do we have a pile of 2-foot pieces of pipe behind the shop that we probably eventually throw away or scrap. Now all of a sudden we have full posts that we can sell for a little bit more money. Matt, you, sir, have your head screwed on exactly right. That is a conversation that we need to have. So that's going to be on the topic of our final Friday conversation, our company conversation here at the end of the month. Actually, technically, the last Friday is the Friday after Thanksgiving. Next Friday will be closed. So it rolls over. It will actually be the first Friday of December. Irregardless, we're having a company wide conversation, and Matt is going to lead that conversation because he has exactly the right thought. But where I'm going with that is I think we as an industry need to reevaluate ourselves and how we're doing business. Right now, margins are good and money's good. You can get full margin, asking price without really even working for it. But what happens when this economy slows, when things become a little bit less good? I think if we spend time and effort now becoming more efficient, becoming cutting the fat, if you will be better for it, right? If you can position yourselves to be in a good spot when things slow down, then you'll be ahead of the game and your competitors will be left trying to figure it out. Like I said, so when you and Caleb, um, and I think his name was Mark, probably Olson, when you talk about 50% markup, are you talking about on material cost alone, or do you include material and labor? Material and labor, the complete cost of building that fence. I'll take this a step further. So it's not only labor cost, it is also the labor burden. So out of the labor costs, there are payroll taxes that the employee pays, but there are also payroll costs that the company pays, right? So a lot of times guys aren't including that burden when they're calculating their true labor cost. When that it is a true labor cost. This is what it costs you every hour this person works. It costs you X amount of tax. That should go in as well. Now, that number changes company to company. You could use 30%, you could use 20%. You need to figure out exactly what your labor burden is, but that also needs to be added into the labor. So it needs to be your complete cost to complete this project, right? So if you're going to have to rent equipment, that number goes in there. If you're going to have a specialty trade come in, for us is if we have columns built, that for us that's a specialty trade. Their number goes in there too. What does it cost to produce this fence? And then you double it and you get 50% gross profit. Now is the best time to implement this because the economy is roaring right now. People are paying good money for a good fence. Now, so Tom Reber and I had a conversation on this channel a little while ago about 50% markup. And his point, which is valid, is you have to figure out how to exceed that value with what you're providing or that cost with value, right? So if you're going to charge 50% gross profit, you have to provide a product that has that much value or more. If you can figure out a way to eke out more value for the client, you'll be better for it in the long run. But don't simply charge more without producing more value, right? Charge what you're worth, or charge what your product is worth. What your time's worth, all of that. So for us, we provide value by obviously building a great fence using high quality material, but a lot of people can do that. So we also offer team members into the mix that, one team member is all about communication. So if you have a question, this team member either knows the answer or they can get the answer for you quickly and get right back to you. There's no emails, there's no voicemails. This person is your person. They are your project coordinator, if you will. It's also over communication. Like we value communication incredibly high here because I think our customers value communication very high. And so that's one of our unique selling propositions is that you will be tired of hearing from us by the time we come out. You will not have a question in your mind. When will we be out? How long will this project take? Where are you in the process? Have the materials been ordered yet? Are they in yet? You will have no questions left in your mind because we will communicate with you throughout the entire project. A minimum of once a week, every Friday, you'll get a project update. Hey, just let you know, the materials are still on order. Haven't seen them yet. Expecting them next week as expected. End of email. Right? So that's a way we provide increased value to our clients. And it justifies our 50% gross profit. Anyway, really long story to say, don't simply increase your prices if your value doesn't align with that, isn't commensurate with the cost, right? With the 50% gross profit. You absolutely have to provide value to your clients. But if you are, there's a lot of guys that already are. There's a lot of guys that are providing fully custom fence that is beautiful. I see the same fences you guys do in these Facebook groups. There's some artists out there. Sean King calls them fence ninjas, and he's not wrong. There are some guys doing some incredible work out there, and they're not charging accordingly, right? So if you're one of those guys, you need to evaluate, are you providing an exceptional value, and is there room for you to make 50% gross profit and still show the client the correct amount of value? If so, 50% is where it's at. So, and in this question kind of illustrates also, we need to talk about markup and margin. So 50% gross profit would actually be your profit margin. Markup would be 100%. So when you double it, so if it costs you $500 to produce this thing, you charge 100% of that in markup. So another $500 gets you $1,000. Now, half of that is profit. So that's your 50% margin. You mark it up 100% to get 50% margin. Hope that makes sense. I mean, I understand, you know what you're talking about, but we need to clarify on the wording because there's a lot of misunderstanding. If you only marked it up 50%, then you'd be left with like 33 point whatever. I think it's 33.3 repeating gross profit margin. So 100% markup gets you 50% margin. And the only reason I know 50% markup gets you 33% margin is because we use that for a lot of years. I mean, that's how my granddad taught my dad. That's how my dad taught me. You take your cost times 1.5, which is 50% markup, get you 33.3 repeating in margin. That's not a lot. That's decent money if everything goes exactly right. But what happens on every single project, something goes a little wrong, right? So something comes up to where it requires an additional trip, or something comes up, a piece of equipment breaks down, you need to go rent that piece of equipment, or you hit a lot of rock that you weren't ready for, and this project took longer than anticipated. Whatever have you. They rarely go exactly right. They rarely go exactly to plan. So again, having 100% markup, 50% margin means that you also have a little bit of safety net built in there for when things do go a little bit wrong. So anyway, I won't beat that drum all day long, but it's something that I'm absolutely passionate about. Like I said, right now, money's good in the market. What happens, God forbid, if home building slows down, right? So fencing follows home building. So when we're forecasting on a residential side, when we're forecasting what our residential business is going to look like 6 months from now, we look at new home starts today or the most recent data available on new home starts for our market. Because typically fences run about 6 to 8 months behind new home starts. Those new homes are likely going to need a new fence. They got kids, they got dogs, or they've got some neighbors. And those are the three reasons a fence company stays gainfully employed or stays around. The people say gainfully employed. Anyway, so we follow new home starts. So what happens if, God forbid, new home starts slow, right? If we start seeing a trend of slower home sales or new home starts. Now, home sales is another metric to watch because home sales in general home sales are going to be a little bit more inclusive for fences because they also include existing home sales. Instead, new home starts is obviously just new homes. But the reason we watch new home starts is existing homes, when they get sold, some of them are sold and they already have a fence. So not every existing home sold needs a fence. The majority of new homes built do need fences because, again, they got kids, they got pets, or they got neighbors, or the neighbors have kids and pets that they don't want in their yard. So you watch the new home starts and existing home sales, and you get an idea. for what your business is going to do in the coming months. You start forecasting your business so you know what to expect. What money should we be paying on advertising? How many team members should we have on staff to be ready for the work that we think is coming? What kind of materials do we need to have on hand to be ready for the work we think is coming? But what happens when that forecast starts trending downward? I mean, the last several years, that forecast has pretty consistently been up and to the right. So, which means like it's growing and it's getting better. Now, sometimes it's more vertical. Those are the ones we really like. It's increasing faster. Sometimes they're a little bit more flat, but they're always up and to the right. What happens if that line starts coming down and to the right? Right? What happens if it starts slowing? We need to be in a good position. We need to have our house in order. We need to make sure we are the most efficient version of our company possible. We need to make sure we're providing the most value we can provide, because when pickings get slim, we need to be the option that is just head and heels above each and every other competitor out there. We need to be it needs to be not even a decision, right? There needs to be such an overwhelming value proposition that the others aren't even a consideration, right? How can you provide that value in-house is the most important thing. For example, like I say, you pre-stain materials in houses. In houses? Not in houses. In our house. In house. So that's something that we can control, right? And we can keep our costs down on that, because we aren't at the whim of someone providing pre-stain materials at whatever price they think that they should be sold for. We're the one doing the pre-staining, so we have a little bit better control over that price. Now, I understand you're also at the whim of the price of the oil and the price of labor. So not completely in our control, but a lot more under our control. What value can you provide in-house to pass along to your customer? The more value you can pass along, the better position you'll be in the future. What percentage of your business is old fence replacement? I'd have to go look. I'd actually want to get Sarah involved. So my sister Sarah runs her residential division. So she has more detailed, like day-to-day knowledge. She and I have meetings regularly, but not every day. So I would say on the residential side, existing fence replacement over new fence installation is probably 40-60, 40 existing, 60 new, 40%, 60%. It used to be pretty close to 50-50, but now what we're finding is fencing has got expensive, right? You guys see it before most everyone else does. In the last year, fence materials have gotten a lot more expensive, and moving forward, they're going to continue to get more expensive. Everyone I talk to in the steel sector, so tubing, fittings, chain link, say to buckle up and get ready, because steel prices in the first quarter of next year are going to remind you of wood prices last year. So it has to do with ore deliveries and material shipment deliveries in general. So right now they should be stocking up and producing spring steel, or steel products that they want to sell in the spring. That's typically why you start seeing manufacturers have sales through the wintertime. They're trying to blow out last year's inventory so they can stock up on this year's inventory. But the producers and the suppliers are saying they aren't getting nearly what they should be getting in now to get ready for spring next year. So everyone I've talked to says that price of steel next year, price of steel fittings, tube, wire, etc., is going to get incredibly high next year. So anyway, fence is getting expensive. Fence has been expensive, but it's getting more expensive moving forward. So we're starting to see fences get replaced less often. So, I mean, it used to be when price of fence was realistic, used to be you could replace a wood fence. You'd see a wood fence get replaced in 4 or 5 years if it was installed using wood posts, and the wood posts are starting to show rot or starting to lean. Typically, you see that fence get replaced with something with steel posts and cedar materials. Now, with the price of fence the way it is, customers are waiting a lot longer to have that fence replaced. They're going to wait till that thing is almost falling down before they'll have you come out and replace it. So 40-60 existing fence to new fence. I think that's probably accurate. I'll get with Sarah this week and I'll bring you guys a better number, or a more accurate number. Kenny Dugan's in the house. Welcome, Stain Man. Jumping on to smash the like and wish everyone a happy upcoming Thanksgiving. Kenny, thank you. And that's a good reminder. If you guys are watching and you haven't hit that like button yet, do me a solid and please hit that. It's free on your end. It helps the channel on my end. It's a win-win for both of us. There's 12 of you watching, and there's 3 either likes or hearts. Let's see what we got. Some likes and some hearts. Let's see what we got. We have 2 likes, Nathan Downs and Michael Babbitt. Thank you so much. And we've got 1 heart from the one and only Taylor Everest, my wifey. Thank you, babe. Appreciate that. So, guys, if you're watching, it would mean a lot if you did give it a like, whether you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, you could also give it another interaction, which could be a heart or a smiley face or whatever else they have today. Don't give it a thumbs down, though. Actually, so I saw this report come out recently that YouTube is taking away the thumbs down. They're taking away that metric, which I don't know. Some people like, some people don't like. It's a metric we watch. Thumbs up to thumbs down gives us an idea, what percentage of people find the content helpful or educational, heck, even a little entertaining, right? Versus how many don't. How many give that thing a thumbs down? I was pretty surprised to see. So this week's hot take, which I know who it was, and here's why. So almost immediately we got thumbs down. So obviously, I guess that metric is still working. So, but the report said they're taking it out. I don't know when, but we almost immediately got a thumbs down. What? Were we way off base on this? Were we just really off? Do people not like this video? And then a comment comes in that says, this was way too short. I mean, it was almost immediately thumbs down comments. Like, that's probably the person that gave this thing a thumbs down. It's way too short. It's only 3 minutes. Like, well, maybe you didn't watch the intro, because the intro said that this was a segment of a longer conversation. That thing's like 3 hours long. So if you really want to watch the full thing, here's the link. So, and what we're going to start doing too is including the link to the playlist that has all of these lives on it. So if someone would really want to go watch the entire thing, which obviously people do, I'm here. Might as well have you guys here watching. That they can do that. So anyway, give this thing a thumbs up, and I would really appreciate it. Whether you're watching on Facebook or live, thumbs up is on both of them. I'd appreciate it. All right. John Allen. Whoop. Still on Kenny. John Allen says, love the channel. Been watching for a while. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Question. Do fence builders avoid jobs when septic tanks are in the area? I had 2 companies come out to quote the job and told me I needed to locate the tank. That's probably true. Do we avoid the job? No, we won't avoid the job, but we will have that conversation that we do need to know where that tank is. And if possible, where those lateral lines are. So the lateral lines are the more important ones for us. I don't want to crush them, break them, whatever. I do not want to be responsible for septic backing up into the tank and then therefore backing up into the house eventually. You see this occasionally in the Facebook groups where someone says that they were accused of, crushing a lateral line 2 years prior, or there's a fence post right where that lateral line is. I believe that was the comment. When was that? Last year or something? Somebody had posted it, and they got sued for quite a bit because this fence post was right in a lateral line. I guess it had crushed the lateral line, and they set a post into it. The septic ended up backing up and then backing up into the house, creating a lot of damage. Now, the conversation devolved into, like, listen, there's also multiple lateral lines, right? So one post probably didn't cause that entire septic backup, but that fence installer got wrapped up into that lawsuit because they were responsible for crushing a lateral line. Something to keep in mind, right? So we want to know where the septic tanks are and where the septic tank is. There usually aren't multiple of them, but also where the lateral lines are. Where's your lateral field? Because that is something that we need to make sure we don't drive a truck across it, because these are typically larger properties. We don't drive a truck across it. We don't take heavy equipment over it. We want to know where these are. Now, right now in the fall, it's a little bit easier to see where it is because typically the grass is going dormant. So it's getting brown, at least here in Southwest Missouri, it's getting brown. But the grass over those lateral lines stay lush and green because they are getting fertilized constantly. So typically you can see green stripes where those lateral lines are, where the lateral field is. But if it's in the middle of summer and everything's green and we don't know, I'm going to want to know, right? Or we'll still do it, but there's going to need to be a liability release that says we're not responsible if we hit a lateral line. We're not responsible for damages either. What is it? It says something like damages resulting to the damage. So whether it's today or 10 years from today, I can't be held responsible because we don't know, right? I will take responsibility for all marked utilities. If I know where they are, if you put paint on the ground, I will avoid those utilities, right? We will lay out the fence to where we avoid those utilities. It's the same conversation so we see this a lot with telecommunications in the backyard, right? Especially they're laying a lot of fiber here in our area. So where they like to run that? Right down the property lines, right exactly where we want a fence to go. So we have that conversation a lot. I cannot put a fence legally. I am legally responsible for any damages within 2 foot of a marked utility. And here in Missouri, they've got 2 foot on either side margin of error. So really, they've got a 4 foot margin of error on 4 foot swath, right? 2 foot on either side of this line. That utility could be anywhere in there. Now, the way technology is advancing, it's pretty close. Sometimes it's not. So here in Springfield, inside city limits, in the old part of town, the gas lines don't have tracer wires. They measure the gas lines based on they locate them based on measurements. So they'll have a map and they'll say starting 12 foot down from the front corner of the house is where the gas starts. And that's typically where the meter is. From that point, proceed 13.2 feet east. All right. Now proceed 72 feet north or whatever it is. Those are less accurate. Same thing with old water. Old water a lot of times doesn't have any sort of trace wire with it. So got off on a little bit of a tangent there. We take responsibility for all marked utilities. We do not take responsibility for any unmarked utilities, including, but not limited to, septic. And if you have septic, you typically have well water as well, or you have a well, also have a well. Can't be responsible for that either. Now, with wells, we can have a pretty good idea where that water's run, right? So where's your wellhead? Where's the water come into the house? Connect point A with point B. We can reasonably assume that's where that water line is going to be, right? But do we avoid jobs? No. Do some guys? Maybe. I don't want to speak for the industry, but us as a company, as Ozark Fence, we don't avoid. Actually, we had a fence. I went out and walked 4 weeks ago, is when Sarah was on her honeymoon. So I went and walked that project that had a septic tank. We still built the fence. We just had a conversation about where is the tank. Now, this house had just been sold, so they had a septic inspection done at the same time. So they knew exactly where the septic tank was, and they knew which direction the lateral field was from that septic tank. So armed with all that knowledge, we built the fence. It's absolutely not a problem, but we just have to know where those things are. Roger says the removal of the thumbs down would be neutral to me, if not for the reasoning behind why WeTubes is doing it. So in the article I read, the reasoning behind removing the thumbs down was to create a more positive environment. So they're trying to reduce the negativity on the platform in general. I don't know. I don't mind it being there. If I'm considering watching a video, I typically look to the thumbs up to thumbs down and kind of do a quick math on what that ratio is. And it gives me kind of an accurate depiction of, am I going to enjoy watching this video? If it has a bunch of thumbs down and only a few thumbs up, probably not going to give it a shot. But if they took the thumbs down away from that, and all I saw was it had a few thumbs up, so now you guys start doing math on how many views has it had versus how many thumbs up does it have. So then you're like, all right, out of 10,000 people that watch this thing, only 3 of them gave it a thumbs up. I don't know. So I'm with you, Roger. I think I'm probably neutral on it. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. Now, we can have a whole conversation about how, like, I don't know that we can manufacture positivity. So I don't think taking the thumbs down emoji or feedback button, whatever you want to call it, away from YouTube automatically, magically makes YouTube a more positive platform. I doubt it. I don't think so. But that's the reasoning behind it. So for what it's worth, a fence guy's opinion, if you will. Any idea how someone would locate the tank prior to fence install? Okay. So, sorry, I was taking a drink right there. So, how you locate the tank prior to a fence install? I know where the lateral lines are. So, actually, you're armed with more knowledge than a lot of people. So, a lot of people will say, "I know where my tank is, and I don't know where the lateral field is." Um, so, you're unsure of the exact location of the tank. Is it hand digging? Is hand digging the post hole safer? Yes. Um, so, typically, you can have a septic inspection done, which what they'll do is they'll expose the uh, access hatch to the septic tank. They'll pull it and then they'll inspect it. And while they inspect it, they'll also give you an idea where this tank is, how big of a tank it is, how it's oriented. Actually, so my sister's getting one done here in the next little bit. So she just bought my grandpa's property. So the grandpa that started Ozark Fence, she bought his property. Is I'm so happy that is staying in the family. Anyway, but as part of that, she's having a septic inspection done. So since she bought it from the family, like there wasn't like a really formal inspection process and or anything like that, but she does want to have the septic inspected just to know what kind of condition it's in. Does it need to be replaced or whatever one does with septic? I don't know what one does with the septic tank, but anyway, Southwest Missouri, it's costing about $300 to have that thing inspected. So for $300, you could have it inspected. I mean, I don't want to put air quotes. It will be inspected, but also located. So they'll locate the access hatch, they'll gain entry, they'll inspect it, but also give you an idea. Here's exactly the size and orientation of the tank. So, how did she reach? She found the septic inspection by talking to a client. So this is funny. So the client that I did the walkthrough for that had a septic that we did the fence over is a home inspector. So she reached out to him. If I can get my mouth to work correctly, she reached out to him and asked him if he did septic inspections, and he does not. There's a company that specializes in septic inspections. But call a home inspector, ask them if they do septic inspections, and if they don't, who they would recommend. They have someone they work with because it's typically part of the overall inspection package that they would present to their real estate, whoever's purchasing this piece of real estate. So they have someone they work with, and they'll typically give you their information. Like I said, here in Southwest Missouri, in our market, about $300. John, I wish I was located in South Carolina sometimes. I tell you what, we were in South Carolina earlier this year through the summer. We were in Charleston and Savannah. Well, Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia. So, yeah, beautiful area. I like that area so much. So my brother-in-law, so my wife's sister's husband, follow that along, is currently based out that way. So we went and visited them. My nephew, my nephew graduated high school, which was a big accomplishment. So we went out there for the graduation party, and then went down to we went down to Savannah. But Charleston's also a great area. I like South Carolina a lot. I wish I was there as well. Will says, sprinkler lines, we hit them on just about every job without fail. Yeah. So that's kind of the joke is if you don't know where sprinkler lines are, we'll find them for you. We'll find them with our dingo, actually, or whatever piece of equipment we're using on that job. Sprinkler lines are also run right on the property lines or over the property line. So that's one thing we had that conversation come up last week was we put this fence 6 inches inside the property line. Here in Missouri, that you could put it on the property line, but it's just a little bit cleaner if there is a property dispute, if that entirety of the fence is on your property. Anyway, 6 inches inside the property line. Client called and said, "You put the fence in the wrong spot." Well, okay. What? How so? How did we get to this conclusion? Well, I have a sprinkler head or a couple sprinkler heads on the other side of the fence. Well, okay. Let's come take a look at it. Went out there. Sure enough, both property pins were exposed, and we've had to start doing this. We also confirmed them with our the Greene County GIS, the Global Information, the plat map on that. These were the correct pins that go with this property. They weren't assigned to the properties behind or whatever. Anyway, correct pins. But when they did the sprinkler lines, they just kind of put the sprinkler heads what looked like was close, right? So we have to have that conversation that sprinkler heads do not depict the property line. More often than not, they're not even installed in relation with the property line because the irrigation companies aren't locating property corners before they set the heads. They typically would in our area, they typically go with the sod line. The sod line also does not have anything to do with the property line. The one thing that depict in the state of Missouri, so it's different in different areas, I'm sure, but the one thing that depicts property lines in the state of Missouri are property pins that are set by a registered surveyor. So I can't go set survey pins. That's the only thing. It is not sod lines. It is not irrigation. It is not fence lines anymore. So this changed when my dad had the company. It went from, it used to be if a fence line had been established for X amount of years, then that established the property line, yada, yada. This came from the agricultural world. Now it's all property pins. The property pins are the basis of the decision on where the property line is. So, yeah, but you're right. Our excavators, dingoes, etc., are incredibly good at finding sprinkler lines. Roger says that's what was written as the reason. Has more to do with agenda, Uncle Joe. I think this is talking about the removal of the thumbs down button. Could be. Could be. I don't know. I'm just telling you about the article I read. And actually, it wasn't a YouTube article, but they might have got their information from YouTube. So, yeah, consider the sources. Ideal Fence says, I use a heavy gauge probe to locate fingers. So, probably talking about lateral lines. This is dependent on the time of the year, though. Spring and fall, it works well, but hot, dry summer or frozen winter, that's another issue. I could see that. Depends on your soil conditions, right? So here we've got a lot of chunk rock where you could probably get some false readings, but I would assume you would take multiple soundings. I think is what they call when you use a probe into the ground. They would take multiple soundings to see what lateral lines are there and how deep, sort of thing. I like that a lot. Good process. Well, you probably find the tank itself, right? So I like it. Guys, we're 2 hours in. Means we got about a half hour left. Oh, wife texts me. Let's see what wife says. Call me when you can. Well, Taylor, I will give you a call in approximately 27 minutes. Puts us right around 12:30 Central Standard Time. We had that little bit of confusion earlier this week when I was setting up a Zoom type interview. Central Standard Time is what we operate on here in Southwest Missouri. And actually, this was completely my fault because I skimmed through a conversation and I assumed it was in Central Standard Time. It was in Eastern Standard Time. So Thursday, was this Thursday? Yeah, Thursday was a bit hectic because I had multiple things scheduled at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. In my mind, when I started the day, I had a 9 o'clock and a 10 o'clock, and then I had to leave by 11. Everything was just kind of lined out just like soldiers, just right. Until I realized it's 10 o'clock Eastern, which is 9 o'clock Central. So I had two 9 o'clock things. Scheduled on top of each other. So that was interesting, but made it work. So luckily one was a document signing. So that went pretty quickly. Had to have, what was it? It was a notary, but it was it was a mobile notary, but it was something. There's another designation in there because we have a notary on staff. Just because we do lien waivers and stuff like that on the commercial side, we do lien waivers on the residential side as well. But commercial side typically wants them notarized. So we have a notary on staff, but these particular documents could only be done by these certain types of notaries. And I forget all about what kind that was. We looked into having ours, but lien waivers do not require the more specific type of notary. So anyway, that's a conversation too that I like to have with you guys at another point. I think this is longer than a 30-minute conversation. But so what this is EIDL funding, economic impact disaster loan. So it is a low interest loan that's long-term, 30-year loan, 3.75%. Because we are for profit, it is 2.75% for nonprofits, apparently. I read that in the documents we were signing. Low interest loan. So the question I have is, has the PPP, the payroll protection program, PPP, have those loans so PPP, well, I guess it started out as a loan, but they said right from the beginning that as long as you use it for payroll, it will be forgiven. So full transparency, we received PPP funds that then were forgiven because we actually used them for payroll. So, but has that funding and the EIDL loan funding has it led to some of the shortages that we're facing? Right. I think it's a legitimate question. So some of these funds we're planning on buying materials with. Now, we're waiting for clarification from our CPA on exactly what we can buy with these funds. I want to make sure that we cross all the T's and dot all the I's, that we play by all the rules being given to us. I read through the rules. Some of them are a little bit murky, so we're asking for clarification. But anyway, has this funding led to shortages? I think that's a real question because a lot of people, one of the big rules is you cannot use these funds for expansion. So if we're receiving funds that are for operating expenses, but we can't fund expansion, what can we do? Well, we can replace vehicles, right? So we're currently in a vehicle shortage. So is this contributing or is it furthering the vehicle shortage? If we're replacing our work trucks, now we're not adding crews, right? We're not expanding, but we're replacing our fleet. Might as well. The fleet's getting to the point where it's needing replaced. Is that leading to vehicle shortages? And if we start investing in materials, we recently brought in a significant amount of materials. We brought in roughly, I'd have to look at the numbers again, roughly 260,000 in fittings, pipe, and wire. Now, if this funding can be used for additional materials, we'll probably buy some more. I mean, you're buying ahead of a price increase, right? So net, you're saving money, kind of. So again, is the EIDL going to lead to a shortage of fencing materials leading forward? I don't know. I think probably so. But I'd like to talk to somebody about it. I'd like to have a more economically, if I can get my hat straight, a more economically minded person on the show to have a really intelligent conversation about impacts in our economy, in our niche economy, which is home building, fence staining, deck building, home construction in general. How do things affect our our segment of the economy? I don't know. So we're reaching out to some economic YouTube channels to see if those professionals would like to come on and help break this down for you guys. So I have a question. Will would like to know, do we provide financing for our customers? We sure do. We use Hearth, HEARTH. So it's a one flat fee a year to give your customers access to, basically, it's crowdsourced financing, which just means that they will take our client's information. So our client goes on to Hearth. We don't have anything to do with this, which is something I really like. We don't handle any of the client's information. We don't give them any forms to fill out. And then we enter the information. We have 0% to do with the producing of these loans. So we have no liability if information gets shared or whatever. Uh, Client goes onto the portal, they enter their information, then Hearth takes that information and sends it out to their network of financing providers. Typically, it's 12 or 13 financial institutions then provide back financing options. Here's what we will offer you. Here are the rates, here are the terms, here are the conditions. And then our customer or client can choose whichever one makes sense for them. Is it a shorter term but a higher rate? Is it a lower rate but shorter term? However that nonsense works. And then they get funded directly. Now, therein lies the double-edged sword. So one fee, which means we're not paying whatever percent, 8 or 9% per transaction to finance it, which again, if we're operating on 10% net profit, that leaves not much for us, right? So one flat fee spread over the whole year. Well, you pay it up front, but when you expense it out for the entire year. Um, and then that's it. So we don't pay additional fees or additional points on top of the financing, which is nice. The double-edged side of the sword is the financing is made directly to the client. The client can take that funding wherever they want. They don't necessarily need to bring it back to us. So we had that come up a couple times this year. Well, once last year, once this year. Last year and this year are all kind of blending together. But it's happened a couple times where the clients have then taken that funding to another fence company. We didn't even get a Christmas card from them on that. But anyway, I think it's worth it, though. I think the risk is worth the reward on us not being involved in the information gathering or the data management for that funding. Um, the risk of them taking the money somewhere else is worth us not having to handle the transaction, I believe. We've used other providers in the past. I don't want to name them. We've used others in the past that have been, the process has been less than easy for our clients. So we send out surveys at the end of a project which basically asks, it's a NPS, which is, I don't know, had to figure that out. I knew it right before I said it. A nominal performance score. Anyway, it basically asks our clients, how did we do? How did the team do before the sale? How did they do during the project? How have we done since the sale? Part of that is, did you receive financing as part of this project? And then if you click yes, then it was tell us about your process tell us about the process. How easy was it? What did you enjoy the process? Did you have any feedback about the process? That sort of thing. A lot of those NPS scores came back pretty negative with the other finance institutions. And Hearth has been getting good NPS scores that come back as far as it seems to be easy for the customer. They seem to be getting a variety of offers and then finding one that suits them best. Again, people like choices, right? Don't give them one choice, give them multiples and let them choose the one that's best for their scenario. So Hearth is who we use, and we get good feedback. All right. Thanks, Joe. Gold nugget of the day. I'm already working on my list for Ask a Fence Geek Friday. I like that so much. That will start this coming Friday on my Facebook page. So guess what we're going to do? Everyone, well, I'm going to do it. Do this if you want. I love watching this, right? I love watching people create content because already I like Fence Geek Friday instead of Fence Guy Friday. Ask a Fence Geek Friday. I like that improvement on my concept. And it's not my concept, right? So where did I take it? I took it from somebody, right? It's not unique. Ideal fence. Search for the page. All right. Well, this is not good content for you guys, but I will find the page and I will follow it because I'd love to follow along the journey with you for sure. So there you go. Congratulations. Best of luck. Okay. So that could be the one that got us looking into others also. Yeah, Green Sky's who we use. So this is not opinion. This is not me swaying business by just stating my opinion. Green sky. Um, no, it was our client feedback, and I've got the NPS scores if they'd like. Um, they got pretty negative NPS scores because consistently it was hard for the customers to use, right? So the customer would apply, but then the customer would have to come back to us to verify that yes, they were applying for us. So then we would have to, the process got weird. There for a while, we'd have to give them our code, which is fine. Well, in the beginning, we had a link. We just sent them through the link, and it was great. People loved it. But for some reason, the process changed, and we would have to give them our vendor number. So then they had to verify the vendor number. And then it changed again to where then we would be sent an email that then we would have to reply to that, yes, this customer was indeed getting financing through us, even though they're providing our vendor number. It was kind of a mess. And then, so the customer was then given a digital credit card, but it could only be used with us. And so we would have to run that, but then we would pay. This is where it gets a little bit nutty. So we would have to pay the finance fee plus the credit card processing charge to process that digital credit card. It was a little nutty. And then the customer would have to fill out a form once we were done that, yes, we were done. They acknowledged that they were happy. Then we would have to submit that before we were approved to take the final funding out of the account. It was all crazy. So anyway, yeah. All right. This will help. So will I agree with you? And if you have further questions, please shoot me an email. So Joe at thefenceexpert.show. Thefenceexpert.show. Joe, I would be happy to answer any of your questions moving forward on the process. I prefer Hearth. We've tried several of them. Hearth is the easiest to get started. It's the lowest cost for us long term. But like I said, the drawback is the customer can take their funding anywhere. Now, 2 out of however many we funded in the last couple of years have taken their funding elsewhere. I'm okay with that. And they obviously weren't an ideal client for us anyway if they were willing to take money from us and take it to somebody else. So, all right. Ideal Decks and Fence is my Facebook page, just to clarify. Perfect. So let's search Ideal Decks ampersand fencing. Did you know that was what that's called? Ampersand? I learned that recently. The and sign. It's got a name. Ampersand. What in the world? It is not showing it for me here. Ideal Decks and Fencing. Ideal Decks and Fencing. Well, we will have to search this. Oh, there it is. So click post. Ideal Decks and Fencing, then click post, and it pulls up a very nice video of a vinyl fence. Well done. Well done. 3 hours ago. There you go. And it was even done recently. Yep. And it matches your what do you call it? Not emoji. Not the picture next to your name. Whatever that one's called. So I will follow it as Joe Everest. Give it a like. Now let's also follow. So now I'm also following the page. So I cannot wait to watch Ideal Decks and Fencing. Start doing Ask a Fence Geek Friday. I like that so much. Out of Kokomo, Indiana. Very cool, Kokomo. There's a place called Kokomo. Anyway. All right, guys. What other questions, comments do we have? We're getting ready to start wrapping this up. We're about 12 minutes out. That is the word I was looking for. Logo. You guys ever do that where the word is like the most basic word ever and it just leaves your mind? That is the most aggravating thing possible. Almost as aggravating as writing a word out and then looking at it and you know it's spelled right. You think it's spelled right, but it looks wrong. For me, yesterday, that word was might. M-I-G-H-T, might. That is how you spell it. But in my brain, yesterday, that word looked wrong. I know that's how that's spelled. Am I making that up? I had to Google it. Google the most common word, not most common word ever, but yeah. So anyway, it's annoying. Logo is the word I was looking for. Ideal uses Enhancify. Okay, let's look this one. Oh, I almost forgot. I gotta show you guys today's video. That's coming up. That's how we're gonna spend our life. We're probably gonna go over. Taylor, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but I need to show you guys today's video because I think it is incredibly interesting. The title is "What is this? A fence for bugs?" That's the title of today's video. Cliff note or spoiler: it is a house for bugs. Enhancify, though. I want to see what that is. Enhancify. Enhancify. Okay. Home improvement financing. Interesting. And of course, everyone else has ads, has Google ads against that term. So you get Hearth and Interbank, Foundation Finance. Interesting. So it looks like it's basically for all home improvement projects, is what it looks like. Fencing, roofing, fencing, roofs and fences is what it looks like. And Monster Factory, whatever that is. It is a professional wrestling training center. So you can get financing for them too through Enhancify, apparently. But it looks like roofers and fencers. Very cool. I have to check them out. So do you guys do you like working with Enhancify? I would like to know. Always looking to find something better. Not that I don't like Hearth. We like Hearth a lot. But if there's a better solution out there for our clients, we should certainly look into it. All right. So let me know, Ideal Fence, if you guys like Enhancify. While we're waiting for that, let's watch today's video. If we can do this correctly. There it is. What is the title again? What is this? A house for bugs? It's a reaction video. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Joe Everest, the fence expert. We've got a little bit different twist on the video. Outfit looks familiar. Reaction series. We actually had someone email us in a video link, a YouTube link, for us to review as part of this series. And I love it. So if you guys are out there in YouTube land and find a fence-related video you think I should see, send it over to me. Joe@thefenceexpert.show. I'd love to see it. So without further ado, let's check out this recent submission. All right, so this video is titled "The Bug House Fence, My Wildlife Garden." Already interested in the title. I already like where this is going. There's already a theme established here. It's very eco-friendly. If we're talking about like sustainability or sustainabuilt, maybe is that the term? But basically making sure that we incorporate things we build into the ecosystem around us. Seems like that might be where this is going, and I like it.
So this is where it started on the creating a bug house fence, habitat fence, wildlife fence, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, I wanted a fence.
All right, so I had to check out the channel a little bit more, but just going off the accent, it sounds like this might be taking place over in the UK. Of course, if you guys follow the channel, we like UK fence builders a lot. Already off to a smashing start.
But rather than just wasting that space, it's like, how can we give a bit back to nature? So this was the original one, just on the front of the garden. I filled it with things like rocks, rolled up paper, logs. This is straw here.
All right, so that's kind of interesting. So it's a dual purpose fence. Obviously, it's providing privacy it's right on the street. So providing privacy for the backyard from the street, from passersby. It looks like it's filled with just a variety of components as he's discussing. Held in with chicken wire. So hopefully it's strong enough to hold. That would probably be one concern I'd have. I mean, it looks like structurally it's fairly sound. depending on how it's attached to that concrete wall. But like I said, obviously a very interesting and different style of fence, but it's something that's fairly interesting.
Whatever really wants to go in it, and you could just put logs in, but if you then drill holes in logs, then you get even more habitat. So that's a really worthwhile thing doing. Pine cones are good, and I like pine cones. However, every time they get damp, they close, so they'll keep dropping down. If we go to this next bit,
and that's probably a fair thing to think about is, and probably you'll see this with the logs and stick too, as they decay, they'll start to fall. But I would think we'll watch more here in a minute. But I would think that you could simply refill it from the top. Maybe I would assume that's probably how this is done. The structure's put up, the framework wires put up, and then the filling is added from the top. You could always top it off. Now, one thing that freaks me out a little bit is I'm not a big fan of snakes in general.
This is true.
Actually, I have no use for snakes. Now, listen, I understand. Snakes can be beneficial. They eat mice. They do this. Okay. Still terrified of them. I agree that snakes do have a purpose in this world. I just don't want them in my part of the world. They still freak me out. So
this is true. And listen, I understand. Like I said, beneficial to society, to our area, everything. Black snakes won't hurt you. Garter snakes won't hurt you. Does not change the fact that they terrify me. They move fast. You don't know what they're doing. They're just squirmy little things. No, thank you. I get that from my grandpa. He was terrified of snakes as well. That's when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this looks like a perfect habitat for snakes as well.
this is an example where this was an old sycamore tree. Now it works really well. Loads of branches left. But if you just filled it, it would all drop down. So you don't want to do that because it'll spread. So what you do, you put these braces in every so often, staple on both sides, and that just holds it all together. So all the gap.
That's not actually something I had thought about. So that's a good point. So as all of this settles to the bottom, it would put pressure on that chicken wire out. So he's provided stability kind of on the midsection, mid-width, all the way up. Great thought.
It's in there work really well because you'll have spider webs, all sorts of things like that. It doesn't have to be a set criteria what you fill it with. Problem was then I liked the idea, and like with all ideas you want to expand them, but then I had to do the rest of the fence, which I'm very pleased with, but it takes a lot of filling. So if you walk along here,
that is a fair point. Like imagine how many limbs and twigs and pine cones that it's going to take to fill up this fence. Quite a lot, I would think.
Yeah. You've got one bit here, so I drilled holes even in these structures just to give them more habitat. That'll be a masonry bee there where it's got the mud. You get other ones where they fill it with leaves, all different things. So again, you can see different habitats. But what's working really well here, which I'm really pleased with, is I've let the ivy come through from the other side.
So, the ivy, I absolutely understand. Like, it's a good green barrier, right? So it's keeping with the theme of sustainable type structures, making them part of your surroundings. In traditional fencing, whether we're talking about chain link fencing or wood privacy fencing, ivy is absolutely a bad idea to let grow up on a fence. At least if you're in an area where it freezes regularly. So where my mind goes is that's going to add an incredible amount of weight to the fence. Should it get really wet and then freeze, it would likely, like I said, add a ton of weight to the fence and could ultimately end up bringing part of that fence down. Now, in talking with the fellow builders over at D&J Projects over there in Nottingham, it doesn't sound like they get strong winters. So maybe freezing isn't an issue. And if not, perfectly fine.
And eventually that will cover all the wall. And even though it's interesting.
All right. So we're getting a comment from the UK, which is, we should consider this. In the UK, we have 4 types of snakes. Only one is venomous, and that's the adder. Adder's incredibly venomous, but you very, very rarely see them. Well, I understand. And, here in Missouri, we've got more than one type, but there's only a few. We have more non-venomous snakes than venomous snakes here. However, I just have this built-in fear of snakes. Whether it is right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't know. But Oh, man, they give me the heebie-jeebies. All right, here we go.
Texture now. Eventually, it'll be an ivy wall, but behind it, you've got all that habitat which the creatures can live in. Again, you've got gaps, but the gaps are okay because, again, spiders and things can like that. It doesn't need to be solid. This was just loads of.
Kind of what this reminds me of too is older agricultural fences. You know, throughout the Midwest, we see a lot of ag fences where the corners are actually built with rocks. So kind of similar concepts, not really chicken wire, but you know, a farmer would at the corner of at the corners of the property form up a round structure, usually with some sort of welded wire, and then all the rocks that get found in the field get put into the corners and makes for an incredibly strong corner. I don't know, just something. This kind of reminded me of that.
Leaf litter, Christmas tree here, egg cups, another Christmas tree, pine cones. This is probably my favourite one, but it is hard work to do because you get the logs and you chop them up, that's fine. But then drilling holes, which sounds quite easy, but do it 1,000 times, it gets quite repetitive.
That is a tremendous amount of holes to try to drill in anything.
However, I am pleased with this, and all I do is staple this side and staple the other time, and that stops it dropping down, because as it dries out, it wants to drop down. That prevents it. Now, I don't like how I've done this one. It doesn't look as good. However, the method, this is the best method to do it. This is, if I was to say, of all the way I've done it, this is the best method to do it. So you can see these, even though I haven't filled these very well, I think my patience level would maybe a bit low on the day. But what I've done is create windows, bricks as it were. And that way you can build them separately.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah, you build them section by section. So with these different cells, probably builds it a bit faster. Might even be a little bit stronger just having so much support. The downside is keeping that top full. Maybe.
Away from the fence, fill them up at your leisure, and then you can build a fence with the bricks. And what that does, it will make, I mean, these are all quite similar texture, but you could do, I don't know, cardboard, straw, rocks, logs, and it just make it really interesting. And it's definitely the easiest way of doing it. So even though I don't like these in how they present, that is the way to do it with the bricks. Like how it was there, but with the bricks. And then hopefully you end up with a really beautiful fence, which is going to give a bit back to nature while doing the job of a fence. Perfect.
Very good. I like this fence style. Yep. So anyway, that's going to be this week's video. Really unique style of fence. I liked it a lot. I think it's interesting. Now, it's not a high production fence, right? You're not going to be able to build that fence quickly. But it is a nice representation of a custom fence built by a homeowner that really spent some time thinking about it. I enjoyed watching it. If you guys would like to watch it again, it's coming up here in like an hour and 15 minutes. I think 1:45 on Saturdays, Central Standard Time is when those videos post. So coming right up. All right, guys. So we are actually past time per usual. If you guys have any last minute questions, comments, thoughts, drop them in the comments below. We'll start wrapping this up. If you haven't given this live video a like yet, please do it. It really helps the channel, and it's a free way of helping out. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, look below this if you're on YouTube. And if that subscribe button is red, please consider hitting that. It also helps the channel, lets YouTube know that we're making content that you want to see regularly. And that would be phenomenal. We'd appreciate that so much. While I'm waiting to see if there's any last minute. Okay, so Ideal Fence said they do like it, offers term loans as well as 0% offers. So it sounds similar to Hearth, but it gives a $50 kickback for each loan processed. Offset that yearly fee. That sounds like a nice idea. One upfront fee per year. Yeah, so it sounds almost exactly like Hearth. Only you get offset, so you get rebates or $50 kickbacks per loan process to try to help offset that fee. Interesting. We'll certainly be looking into it. All right. Well, that seems to be the gist of it. Let's make sure we haven't missed any other comments. Let's see. I think we got everybody. if you have a comment or question that you haven't seen yet, or I haven't answered yet, drop it below. But looking through the comments, it looks like we just about have it all. Like I said, thanks for the informative and thorough explanations. You're very welcome. I appreciate you guys, one, watching, and two, participating, asking your questions or giving your comments. It helps make this go by so quickly, and I appreciate that a lot. But without any further questions, all right. Lorenzo Lawn Service says, hi, what's the process to get a contractor license for fence? That's probably going to vary area to area. That doesn't sound right. Region to region. So here in the state of Missouri, you do have to organize. You have to give an organization, or you have to organize yourself, whether it's an LLC or sole proprietor or corporation, whatever your legal professional, your advisor says. But then from there isn't a specific fencing license you have to get. You would just we get a business license with the city that we operate out of, and then we end up having to get business licenses in cities that we build fences in. So I think it's that time of year again where we start having to get all the licenses for next year. I think we're at 10 or 12 business licenses for all the different communities that we operate in the area. So check with your local city. So, our office is in Springfield. So I checked with the city of Springfield business office, and then they provided all the information on what's needed to obtain a business license with the city of Springfield. Roger, thank you. Appreciate you joining as always. Project Metal Music. I will catch you next week as well. So that's important. Guys, we will be doing another live next week. Now, here in the States, we celebrate Thanksgiving on Thursday. We will be having a show on Saturday. So we'll talk about all things Thanksgiving and turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy and green bean casserole. I am looking forward to that a lot. Anyway, but we will be having a live next week. Lozano, you're very welcome. I appreciate you tuning in and asking your question. Well, guys, for now, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you got it. The good fences make good neighbors. And I'll see you guys next week.